we're in crypto summer. We just started crypto summer. Crypto summer is up only. Yes, you get the 30% pullbacks that happen in your face in minutes, but that's crypto summer. This whole year should be crypto summer. Now, we're all debating whether we get a left translated cycle or a bubble cycle that goes on further than we imagine. None of us know that yet, but we're at the sweet spot. Global liquidity is picking up, should continue going forwards. Business cycles should pick up. So this is the time. This is the great time. And this is the time when ETH outperforms Bitcoin, Solana outperforms ETH. A bunch of alts will outperform Solana. So, it's obviously, it is the great opportunity. It's the kind of the big trade is now on.
In 2024 and the years to come, cryptocurrencies are bound to skyrocket to higher and higher heights. Raoul Pal, CEO and founder of Real Vision, holds firm in this belief as the halving is already happening in just 4 weeks and the demand for Bitcoin ETFs just keeps growing and growing. Raoul holds an extremely bullish outlook on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and the broader crypto market for the 2024 to 2025 bull cycle. He believes that this bull market will surpass all previous ones, making it the biggest Bitcoin and crypto bull market in history. Make sure to stick around to the end of the video as Raoul reveals his predictions for the cycle and his ultimate crypto strategy to make massive gains in the bull market. Also guys, only a small percentage of my viewers are actually subscribed. If you enjoy staying up to date with finance content, consider subscribing or liking the video. It's free and you can always change your mind. Now here's Raoul Pal with his genius insights and predictions for this cycle.
So all financial markets work the same way. You put capital in and it's coming into Bitcoin. It then flows into the less liquid assets, and they rise more, right? It's just all markets work the same way. So it comes into Bitcoin, it pushes up the other assets. So the next phase is obviously the ETH ETF. ETH is really an interesting dynamic because the more ETH you buy, the more the supply is reduced. With about 28% locked up in bloody staking, I mean, it's going to get quite a disruly market. There's just going to be, going to be very price gappy to the upside and probably the downside. So that's going to get fun. Solana has been like the main adoption horse because it's going up the adoption curve, so it tends to outperform. So I just think you just have that perfect risk curve where Bitcoin starts the cycle well, ETH then starts to outperform. If you look at the ETH Bitcoin chart, it's basing. It looks like it should start to break higher over time, and that's pretty much what happened. When was it? About September 2020. No, it was like summer 2020. We saw the same kind of thing. So we should see that continue. And then Solana, if I look at the Solana ETH chart, it's about to break higher again. It's like this perfect little flag pattern, should keep going. So it looks as is. And as I've kind of thought all the way through, I think nothing changes. Solana is ETH of the last cycle, right? This is a proper blockchain that's getting full adoption. So this is a real thing. Firedance is the kicker. So we've got some real stuff happening here. So in terms of price targets, I mean, who the hell knows? But if we kind of replicate what ETH did last cycle, that was a 45x from the low. So you get somewhere like about $500. If I look at the other charts, I get somewhere between 500 and 1,000. And it just depends on the structure of this market. If we get a bubble cycle, it'll go to 1,000. If we get some sort of left translated, it gets to 500. It's something like that. As we all know here, price targets are pretty useless. But because you need to see the structure and nature of the market when it happens. So it's all well and good us having an idea now, but we'll feel it and know it when it's happening. And I'm still trying to figure out, I'd love to hear your guys' views. So here's my odds. My odds is 60% this is kind of a normal cycle. I would say the last cycle we had wasn't. It was stunted. The last leg was stunted. We should have had another leg higher. We didn't get it. 2017 was probably more of a normal crypto cycles like 2013. They get quite blow-offy top at the end. There's a full bubble cycle that could be kind of la land, which I would give 20%. I give 60% to a normal cycle and 20% to a left translated cycle. My fear of this left translated cycle is we kind of meme coin it so much to the moon that the whole thing collapses under its own weight before we actually get the app layer fired up and people are actually doing stuff. That's the one fear, that we overhype it. We have not seen on the media side the rush. It's not happened yet.
No.
It's the same people still. Yeah, I can see my Twitter numbers growing again because they were flatlined for a long time, but they're still not growing fast. I mean, I hit 1 million, I don't know, 4 months ago, and I'm at like 1,020,000. So we're not seeing a massive influx.
No.
So you're right. I mean, look, there's some anecdotal evidence, yes, but we're not really seeing a mass participation. And, you know, but it is early. It's early in the cycle. We forget because, look, we were all quite lucky in getting this cycle quite right. So we feel like we've been in it all the way through. But don't forget, last cycle, most of us were buying now. Obviously, the price is further this time. So it's different. So I don't know. And let's just keep an open mind. I think Michael's view is also right. I just don't think we know. So we just have to keep a very open mind, which is why I'm trying to use a probabilistic framework and just keep adjusting as we go. My setup is I'm really 95% non, just in my core positions, and then 5% of silly stuff, of which I've got some stuff that's too small that I won't talk about, and then I've got whiff and I've got bonk. And I got Doge. So I got the dogs, because the dogs run first. This is the perfect point for the dog cycle. So you do a bit of that for the fun of it. But I'm not very good at this part of it because you always end up and look back and you're too late into a cycle. You look back, you got this shrapnel of useless shit. I mean, if I look back at my wallet last time around, the decentralized and sandbox and all of this stuff you get stuck with from narratives that you overstayed in, that's the issue, is not overstaying in this stuff. Some of this might well do, right? Doge, stuff like that. No, it's tokenized culture now. It's folklore, right? So I don't really have an issue with it. There is a world where it's possible that Twitter uses Doge as a payments platform, and then look, it's possible, but it's not something I would bet on. This is the hard part. People don't realize. The hard part is actually the last part of the cycle. It's the hardest part. It's not buying the cycle. It's not running the cycle. It's the end. Because if it finishes early, you kind of get caught holding the bag. If it finishes normally and you've got PTSD, you end up selling a bit too early. That's not the worst thing. If it has a super cycle, I mean, I remember selling Bitcoin in 2017 at like 2,500 and thinking I was great. Went to 20,000. It kind of 10x'd in the next 5 months. So and that's really difficult to deal with. So last time I didn't sell at all. And this time around, I've been thinking this is I will just take some off for lifestyle chips probably at the end of this year. Just in time and not price.
I like that.
Because there's some lifestyle chips I want to take off. And then I'll run it. And if it ends up being a bubble cycle, I'll take some more off. If it's a normal cycle, I'll just run it. The other strategy I've got is, and Benny's aware of this, I've been talking to him about this, is like, I'm now starting to think that the top of the entire investment pyramid is the super high-end art NFTs of the OGs. And that's where you put savings into. So you just keep peeling off savings, putting them into that. There's Ovi with a auto glyph behind him. That's how I'm thinking of this. So I've actually been already buying NFTs because they're still cheap in cycle terms. So I've been buying some Xcopy and some Beeple and stuff like that. End of year I'll take some off regardless of price. This is the big macro view, and obviously I've understood NFTs for a long time and where they fit in, but I didn't have the macro. I even understood how to price them on a macro framework, but a bigger thing is that if I'm right, this space goes from 2 trillion to 10 trillion to 100 trillion to 200 trillion. Right, that's what I kind of think. The magnitude of wealth that this space creates over the next 10, 20 years is the largest the world has ever seen. In the shortest period of time, wealth gets recycled. Now, if you ask anybody, I've thought about this. I'm like, okay, what do I do at the end of this cycle if I take a ton of money, if I took all my money off the table? What would I invest it in? That's a really fucking hard question. But, you get to the idea that in a digital world, in a world where a lot of people have created wealth in this digital world, art and tokenized culture makes a lot of sense. And if you look back over the periods of fine art, if you look at why is Damien Hirst a very valuable artist in the UK? Well, I was that period of late 90s in the UK, and it was fucking wild. It was the cultural epicenter of the world. And Damien Hirst was tokenized culture. The Blur, there were Oasis, all of that was that one thing, the Fatboy Slim, it was all that. Damien Hirst is that. Warhol is that. Basquiat's that. Banksy is that. They're all that. So we will all look back on this period of time, and these things will be very valuable to us.
So there's Raoul Pal sharing his expert insights and predictions for this cycle. Usually it's a post-halving rally that blasts Bitcoin to new all-time highs. However, this time Bitcoin has already surged before the halving. Though many are wondering how all of this will unfold post-halving, experts like Raoul remain bullish, anticipating continuous growth and adoption. As Raoul shares his thoughts on the current stage of the bull cycle, he notes that despite significant price increases, we are still in the early phases of the bull market, meaning there are still a lot of things that will happen and we have many chances for extraordinary gains. As per Raoul's analysis, this may manifest as either a typical cycle or a blow-off top rally, driving prices significantly higher than anticipated. Anyway guys, hope you all enjoyed today's video and that provided you with some value. I'll see you all in the next one, and as always, all the best.